Texas is taking another L, and I'm going to tell you, I get tired of seeing our state come up in these news feeds, but nonetheless, these stories are important. They got to be talked about. A place called Tomball, Texas. I haven't really heard of it, but I think it's kind of in the southern region. It's kind of northwest of Houston in that area. But there is a mother who is facing some very, very glaring charges. So I'm going to give you guys some details, but I'm going to tell you it might rock you to the core. So I have to forewarn you about this type of content, that you might find my content controversial or offensive. This information is coming from credible sources. This story is coming from khou.com. So thank you for the article. This video commentary also contains my personal opinion about the facts of this story. The point is to use this as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like this going forward to children. Viewer discretion is advised, and that is your official disclaimer. And let me tell you guys this. For anybody who wants to get in their feelings talking about, well, Jay, you crack on criminals' looks too much. You talk bad about people. Well, I'm going to tell you this. Let me tell y'all this. I don't give a flying you know what about anybody who hurts, murders, or abuses children. And if you feel the need to defend people like that, then maybe you should have a foot up your behind and be pulling out shoelaces out of your butt. Because for the life of me, and I'm trying to keep this clean, because I ain't gonna lie, look, I'm trying to keep my channel up, and I don't know how long it's gonna stay up, but I'm doing the best that I can to try to be a little PG-13 here, okay? But I think some people who have watched me long enough know how I feel about this type of thing. And for the life of me, people who defend folks who are accused of doing the most heinous things, and I'm going to tell you, in this case, there is a lot of really, really bad accusations about this woman who was accused of killing her 5-year-old daughter in Tomball, Texas, and she has been charged with capital murder. So if you guys aren't familiar with capital murder, that means that they have very strong evidence that they can show in court that's going to say she killed this person without a doubt, with intention and premeditation. That's going to be probably, especially in the state of Texas, worse than a life sentence. Probably, that sounds like a death sentence to me, if you ask me. But Melissa Town, who is 37 years old, which is this alleged mother. Let me get her stupid ass face back up on the screen so y'all can see her stupid ass face, right? This woman right here who wants some freaking sympathy. She confessed to killing her daughter during questioning on Sunday. She waived her right to face a judge Monday morning, and her bond is set at a number that I have never even heard of. $15 million. If y'all look at this woman's face, she looks destitute. She looks homeless. If you set her bond at $10,000, I'm not too sure that she'd be able to go get 10% to pay a bail bondsman to get her out. And I'm saying that for a reason, because I don't think she had a lot of money. The charges are serious. I get that. But you just have to look at some people. And sometimes you could judge a book up by its cover. Sometimes. And when you look at this book, you'd ask yourself, where the hell would she get any millions of dollars to get a bond to get out of prison? Who would put up that kind of money? Even if she had it. 15 million? I'm glad that, look, I told y'all Texas has super aggravated child abuse laws. Beautiful thing. But $15 million, I'm just like, what's the point? Just give her no bond. I don't really understand that. In court, it was revealed that this alleged mother, and I'm ad-libbing that, the alleged mother made a conscious decision to end her daughter's life. And y'all better brace yourself, because this might bother you. Records show that she took her daughter, whose name is Nicole, and that's the beautiful baby Nicole right there. And I think Nicole's last name is the same as her mother, if I'm not mistaken, Nicole Town. But she took her daughter to the woods at Spring Creek Park. Town said Nicole was evil and didn't want to deal with her anymore. And this begs the question, where was the biological, not only where was the biological father, but who was the actual custodial parent? Because I'm not so sure that she was. But there had to have been another parent involved in this child's life. Like, I don't think that she was just a single mom, didn't have any help, and then just decided to do something like this. Now, according to court records, Town told little Nicole to get on her knees while pulling a knife out of her bag. Nicole fought back. This baby fought back. And she told her mom, and this is the part that broke me down to tears earlier when I heard it in the news videos. And she looked in her mom's eyes and she said, "Mama, I've been a good girl." That baby right there. She said, "Mommy, I've been good." And I'm going to read that quote here in just a second. That's when authorities said that Towns slit her own daughter's throat. When she didn't die after that, Town put a trash bag on her head to suffocate her and strangle her for approximately 30 to 45 minutes. I don't even know how you estimate and miss a time frame like 15 whole freaking minutes. I can understand if you can miss maybe a minute or two. How do you miss 15 minutes of choking a baby? That's all according to court documents, and a knife was found in Town's pocket, authorities said. I know that was hard to hear, guys. Like, that's heartbreaking, and don't be afraid to cleanse. If you need to cry, cry, but I need y'all to hear these stories because they're very important. We can watch First 48 all damn day long, but somehow we're bothered by listening to these stories. We owe it to baby Nicole to hear her story and hear how she fought off her own evil ass mom who made a premeditated choice to end this baby's life. We owe it to her to hear her story. Let's keep going. According to investigators, Town drove the little girl Nicole to Tomball emergency room and asked the hospital staff for a wheelchair for her child, telling the staff that her body was hurting. An ER nurse walked out to Town's Jeep and discovered Nicole wrapped in plastic and a bag, according to court documents. Investigators said that she had visible cuts to her neck, and doctors pronounced her dead minutes later. Investigators said Town admitted to Tomball police that she had killed Nicole at Spring Creek Park before driving her to the hospital, but authorities said that they weren't able to find any signs of a crime scene at the park. In court, it was revealed that Town is not the custodial parent, and that's why we're going to talk about this GoFundMe here in just a second. So stand by on that. Let me say that again. In court, hashtag not my words, it was revealed that this BITCH was not the custodial parent. I want to let that sink in just for a moment. Which begs the question, who was the custodial parent? Why did the custodial parent let this woman see this child, knowing that this woman had lost custody of this child for a reason? And you turn around and allow this child, unless she kidnapped her, that's the only way I can see this being different. But if you were the custodial parent, I don't know whether it was the aunt or the dad or grandma or whomever, but whomever had custody of this kid and allowed this kid to go into their custody, I think they should be investigated too. Maybe they shouldn't have to do jail time, but they absolutely should be investigated. And I need to have an answer as to why. Why would you let this woman have custody of this child knowing that she did not need to have custody of this child? Okay. Here's what Child Protective Services said. Child Protective Services is investigating the tragic death alongside law enforcement. The child's mother, Melissa Town, does have prior history with CPS. Let me say it again. She does. It is confirmed that she does have prior history with CPS. But specific details of CPS investigations are confidential according to law. Ms. Town has 3 additional children, ranging in age of 2 years old all the way up to 18 years old, all who are safe and have been living with other family members. So they didn't specify who the kids are actually leaving with. So here's what you'd have to ask. Are all the kids by one person, or are the kids by different people? And if so, why is it that you allow this little girl to go stay with this woman who's clearly not fit to be a parent? The family of Nicole's father, James Bradshaw Jr., issued the statement. We are devastated and in complete shock over the loss of Nicole. We ask for privacy and respect for Nicole's father, James Bradshaw Jr., and our family as we all figure out how to grieve her horrible loss and try to figure out how to go on from here. Nicole has grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and a father that all loved her dearly and never thought such a tragic event would happen to such an innocent child. She will always have a special place in our hearts. We will always remember her as the sweetest little girl who never met a stranger. And she looks like a happy little girl. She was so full of love and giggles, and her bright blue eyes shined so full of curiosity. We're hoping and praying justice will be served, and the heartless monster, of course they're referring to the mom, who took our sweet girl away from us, pay for the innocent life that she took. There is a GoFundMe account set up for anybody who would like to help with funeral costs for Nicole. No one ever expects something this devastating to happen to them. We greatly appreciate any and all donations for our services and ask that you please lift our family up in your prayers as we cope with the horrible loss of our sweet Nicole. And let me get that GoFundMe up here for those who like to see that. That is because there was a couple of updates. Let me see which one is which. That one's old. Okay, this one's a little more current. So if you look at this GoFundMe, within 2 days, they reached their goal. They were asking for $10,000, so I'm assuming none of these children have life insurance. I'm going to assume. But they did put up a $10,000 GoFundMe. People who saw the story within 48 hours raised $12,870. Bury my niece who was murdered by, and then they didn't say by who. I'm going to read this title again. It says, Bury my niece. And I'm just curious, just by that wording, is anybody else offended by that? To me, it sounds like, because I'm a words person, it sounds like society, y'all bury my niece. She's my family, and I want y'all to pay for her burial. That's what it sounds like to me. I'm offended by the wording, but maybe nobody else saw it that way. Bury my niece is more or less a imperative statement to say, like, this is not my responsibility. Well, here's the thing about death. Whether it comes in the form of this or in the form of something more natural, we all will pass away at some point. I believe that it is the individual's responsibility, the parent's responsibility, and the family circle's responsibility to bury our loved ones, not society. That is not society's job to do that. Now, here's the difference before y'all go get mad. Oh, I'm going to flag Jay. I'm mad at him for what he said. Yeah. Before you go jumping off your rocker and go cussing me out in the chat, I get it. This is sad. And if you want to post and if you want to donate, then fine. Please do so. I'm just saying that there is a better way to go about doing this. And I would much rather have seen this baby have $10,000 in her college fund than in her funeral. Uh-oh. Let me say that again. For those who don't understand my point, I would have rather have seen somebody financially support baby Nicole while she was alive to the tune of $12,800. Put it towards her living, put it towards her school clothes, put it towards her education, laptops, tablets, whatever it is, glasses, health care, right? Why is it, and this is the part that a lot of people really don't understand about me and why I say what I say about these GoFundMes, and this is probably about the plainest that I can say it. And this is the part that if y'all were ever going to timestamp a part, timestamp this. Here's why. We are so quick to support death that we don't care about life. And that, to me, is confusing. If life is precious, if lives matter, if babies' lives matter, then why don't we show them that they matter while they're alive? Why do we wait till something tragic happens, and now we want to give them the most wonderful funeral ever that they would never get to see, that they would never get to feel, that they would never get to experience? Is that to soothe our conscience? Because we know that we have children in this world that have shitty books, that have shitty desks, that have shitty walls, that have asbestos in their schools, that have lead in the paint that's in the walls, that have crappy, pissy, smelly bathrooms, that can't pay teachers enough to teach these kids properly? Is that a way to soothe our conscience? That we want to make it seem like we're doing good deeds? Is that our way of appeasing God to say, look, God, we did something good for this little girl? And if I could hear the sound of God's voice, and if you could hear him through me, here's what I think he would say. Use this as a cautionary tale and take care of your babies while they're living. How about that? You want to make a difference? Make a difference in the living children's lives that are here now. For those who might not know some of my personal story, here's what I can say. And y'all know I get real somber in these moments because they matter. And this is what I really hope that people show up to these live streams for. Not to just hear the story, but for us to learn something. I became more or less a father to a little girl whose father didn't want her. She calls me dad. And you know what I said to that? Okay. That's why I wish there were 100 of me, 1,000 of me. Because for every kid that wants a male figure, that wants a father figure, that wants a parental figure, a positive figure, somebody who just gives a crap, I would give that to any and all children who would want that, who would reach out to me. Because I don't want to turn any kids down. Because as society, they all need us. And I'm going to tell you guys something. Some of the most precious things that you can do with children, you want to know something very simple? Listen to them and pay attention to them. Kids are easy. Feed them, clothe them, bathe them, provide them shelter, housing, and protection. Listen to them. Pay attention to them. I think about my ex-girlfriend. I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Her little daughter used to do the cutest thing ever. She wanted me to see her dance and do these little flips. And to the average person, you might think, oh, well, that's silly. That's silly, right? But to this little girl, she was having the time of her life. At her house, simple setting, nothing really going on. And she just doing these little twirls, playing this little song she had and doing these little flips. Like, look at me, look at me. I gave her all the attention that she wanted. Why? Because it's the simplest thing that we can do. It's easy, and it means so much to the kids. Right? Let me give you guys the fair usage. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. And by the way, I would hope that you guys understand my message. An easy way to do that is just to click that thumbs up. Just show some love. Doesn't take much time. Do that for me. Hit that thumbs up, okay? Here we go. Let's listen up.
We are learning new details about the tragic death of a 5-year-old girl. Investigators say her own mother stabbed her to death on Sunday. Thank you for joining us. I'm Keith Garvin.
And I'm Daniela Guzman. It's a very tough story to tell, but new tonight, a woman says she reported the signs of abuse the child was suffering at the hands of her own mother. But sadly, her reports did not save the child's life. Our Devin Clark is live tonight just outside of the CPS offices near NRG with these developments. Devin?
Daniela, Keith, the woman who identified herself as the child's babysitter, says all the writings were on the wall. And like you mentioned, she did tell Child Protective Services about possible signs of abuse. She says that if more action would have been taken, that child could still be alive today.
She's super smart, always. She loved talking about dinosaurs.
This woman who asked not to be identified is speaking about 5-year-old Nicole Town, who she says she babysat. Family posted this picture of her in a GoFundMe account now set up. Investigators say the child's 37-year-old mother, Melissa Town, admitted to stabbing the little girl to death at Spring Creek Park in Tomball Sunday afternoon, before she told them she made a conscious decision and needed to end the child's life. The babysitter says weeks before that, the child showed signs of being abused.
Scarring and like open bug bites. It looked like all over her body. And then she was complaining of pains.
The babysitter says she contacted Child Protective Services.
On October 5th, they took my statement or whatever, and then they told me someone would be in contact with me. October 6th, they contacted me.
She says she was told that nothing could be done without the child's address, even though she gave them the father's name.
It angers me.
She says she didn't have the address because she would pick the child up from her father, who had custody, at a gas station.
We follow the same page on Facebook called Ask Tomball. And he was looking for a babysitter, so I had messaged him on there.
While she says the little girl didn't explicitly tell her who was abusing her, she did hint that something was wrong.
She always constantly told me she did not want to go home.
Did she ever tell you why?
She just kept saying that her family doesn't trust her.
Officials say Town told them while she was stabbing her daughter to death, the child yelled out, "I've been good," and she replied, "Stop fighting it." Now the little girl is dead.
I feel like the system failed her.
CPS officials say there is a history with Town, who has other children staying with relatives, but they would not go into details about the alleged calls that were.
Now to the disturbing new details about the mother accused of stabbing her 5-year-old daughter to death.
This morning, a judge charged her with murder and set her bond at $15 million, and Child Protective Services confirms it is investigating. Now, a spokesperson just released a statement saying in part, quote, the child's mother, Melissa Town, does have prior history with CPS. Ms. Town has 3 additional children ranging in age from 2 years old to 18 years old. Have prior history with the Town does have prior history with CPS. The Town does have prior history with CPS. Ms. Town has 3 additional children ranging in age from 2 years old to 18 years old who are safe and have been living with other family members. KPRC2's Robon Belogan has the details now from Montgomery County.
This is the neighborhood Melissa Town lived. Neighbors tell me they are shocked to learn the woman is accused of killing her 5-year-old daughter. One adds that she tried to get the woman help multiple times.
And so I'm sad, I'm sad that this child died.
A $15 million bond set for the woman accused of killing her 5-year-old daughter. Melissa Town did not appear during her first court appearance as an official with the district attorney's office read the disturbing details of the case.
Officers stated that the defendant made a non-custodial statement to that officer stating that she made a conscious decision and needed to end the child's life.
In court, officials claim Town called her daughter evil and, quotes, didn't want to deal with her anymore. Investigators say the 37-year-old told them she killed her daughter at Spring Creek Park in Tomball.
The defendant stated that the complainant yelled, "I've been good," and the defendant replied, "Stop fighting it."
Neighbors, who KPRC2 is not identifying, state they called police on the mother on multiple occasions.
We called the cops several times, and it was the sheriff's department that came out, and she told me she had signed herself out of psych wards. She told me that her family had her oldest daughter and kept her from her.
The neighbor now wrestling if something could have been done sooner to prevent.
Now to the disturbing new detail.
So for the record, Ms. Town is charged with capital murder of a child under 10 years old. Ms. Kennedy, state's position, please.
Your Honor, in this case, the state filed a motion requesting a no bond as the defendant is currently charged with a capital offense.
So this is actually some of the court proceeding. I don't think she was actually here for this, but I'm going to see if you guys can hear this. If not, then I might have to skip it, but here we go.
The state is against a pretrial release, requesting to refer the decision of bond to the district court. A few facts from the case. The offense date is going to be October 16th, 2022. Officers were dispatched in reference to a deceased 5-year-old child. When officers arrived, they made contact with the mother of the deceased child, later identified as the defendant. Officers stated that the defendant made a non-custodial statement to that officer, stating that she made a conscious decision and needed to end the child's life. The officers stated that the defendant told them the offense occurred at Spring Creek Park. When officers detained the defendant, conducted a pat-down for weapons, found a knife in the defendant's pocket. A doctor at the hospital pronounced the child deceased. Officers located the complainant lying in the floorboard of the passenger side of a motor vehicle, inside of a laundry mesh bag covered with a blanket. Officers spoke with a nurse who stated that the defendant approached her asking for a wheelchair for her daughter. The nurse asked the defendant what was wrong with the daughter. The defendant stated that her body was hurting. The nurse proceeded outside to the defendant's vehicle, found the complainant lying inside of a laundry mesh bag on the floorboard of the passenger side. The nurse stated that she opened the laundry mesh bag, turned the complainant over to where she saw that her throat had a laceration. The nurse stated that there was bruising around her neck, eyes, and mouth. Officers then transported the defendant to the police station, conducted a custodial interview, read the defendant her Texas statutory warnings. The defendant admitted to taking her daughter, the complainant, to the park. The defendant stated she drove her motor vehicle toward the ravine inside of the park. The defendant stated they exited the vehicle. She grabbed a bag that contained a knife, trash bag, and a laundry mesh bag. The defendant stated that they walked further into the woods. The defendant stated she had the complainant get on her knees. The defendant knelt behind the complainant, grabbed her hair with the defendant's left hand while utilizing the knife with her right hand, sliced the complainant's throat, causing a laceration. The defendant realized did not kill the complainant. She drove her motor vehicle toward the ravine inside of the park. The defendant stated they exited the vehicle. She grabbed a bag that contained a knife, trash bag, and a laundry mesh bag. The defendant stated that they walked further into the woods. The defendant stated she had the complainant get on her knees. The defendant knelt behind the complainant, grabbed her hair with the defendant's left hand while utilizing the knife with her right hand, sliced the complainant's throat, causing a laceration. The defendant realized the knife did not kill the complainant because the complainant began to scream and fight. The defendant stated that she immediately placed the trash bag over the complainant's head. The defendant stated that she had a hard time strangling the complainant and that she continued to strangle her for approximately 30 to 45 minutes. The defendant stated that the complainant yelled, "I've been good," and the defendant replied, "Stop fighting it." The defendant stated that she was able to sit on top of the complainant while covering her mouth with the defendant's hand, placing the trash bag over the complainant's head. The defendant stated that she then placed the complainant inside of the laundry mesh bag to carry her to the vehicle. The defendant stated she wanted to dispose of the complainant, so she decided to take her to the hospital. The defendant stated she wanted to end the complainant's life because she was an evil child and did not want to deal with her anymore. When officers observed the complainant, she had a laceration on her neck, bruising around the neck, eyes, and mouth. Your Honor, the state filed a motion requesting no contact with any witnesses, no weapons, alcohol, drugs, GPS, curfew, house arrest, for the defendant to surrender her passport or any travel documents, for the defendant's travel to be restricted to Harris County, no contact with anyone under the age of 17, no contact with any school or daycare facilities, to not supervise or participate in any activities involving anyone under the age of 17, to not have access to the internet, no cell phone or computer that has access to the internet, no pornography. The state is against a pretrial release under the Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 17.03, current violent offense. That's it, Your Honor.
All right, hopefully you guys were able to hear that. Can y'all hear that okay? If not, then I'll skip the video, but I'm going to let the rest of this play out real quick.
Thank you. These will be the bond conditions. She's ordered to appear in court, commit no new crimes. She's ordered to surrender her passport for a temporary deposit with the court. Her travel is restricted so that she must remain within Harris County and its contiguous counties. She's ordered not to use, possess, or consume marijuana or controlled substances or alcohol. She's ordered not to use or possess a firearm, deadly weapons, including knives or ammunition. She's ordered to submit to electronic monitoring with an initial curfew from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m., which is...
Oh, and if y'all would, please click that thumbs up. We want to have one thumb up for everybody watching. Super easy to do. If y'all would, just click that thumbs up for me, okay? We got a couple more stories.
24-hour house arrest, only allowed to leave if she is going to court or pretrial services or seeking medical treatment. She's further prohibited from having any contact with any person 17 years of age or younger, and prohibited from going within 1,000 feet of any school, park, daycare facility, or other location where children may gather. Bond instead is in this case at $15 million.
Mother charged with brutally killing her own 5-year-old daughter teared up in court today as we continue to piece together the days leading up to this just horrible tragedy.
Yes, Melissa Town remains in the Harris County Jail, but where she was in the days leading up to her daughter's death on Sunday, well, that remains a mystery. ABC 13's Maya Shea spoke to a woman who may help with this investigation. Maya live now in our newsroom in an interview that you will only see on 13. Maya?
That's right, Gina. You know, so many people have just cannot believe the details of what we've been telling you for the last 2 days about the tragic death of little Nicole. Her mother, of course, currently in jail, but people want to know where she was leading up to her daughter's death and frankly, how she got a hold of her child in the first place. We don't know all the answers, but this one woman in Montgomery County is shedding some light.
So they had tents and baby items all right here? Back here, almost against my fence.
Rachel Brown shows us the tract of unkept land along Goodson Loop in the town of Pinehurst. For months, she has dealt with squatters on this property and nearby, but she just realized one of them was Melissa Town, the mother charged with capital murder.
She just walks up and down the streets. You never know what she's going to have. She's going to have a toaster under her arm or pushing a baby carriage with a dog in it. I mean, you don't know.
Brown says she saw Town just a few days ago. Amidst camping tents and baby items, she never imagined it would be the same woman as seen here, tearfully appearing in court for the first time, with a bond set at $15 million.
Well, the facts themselves indicate that the lady has some serious mental issues. And from my understanding, she's been institutionalized at least 9 times for mental health purposes. So there's no doubt there's some dark demons haunting her.
By all accounts, little Nicole was a loving child. Deputies say she was telling her own mother, "I've been good," even as she was allegedly trying to strangle her to death.
Her nickname was Pumpkin, and she didn't know a stranger. We would take her swimming at the creek, and we'd turn and she'd be trying to walk and go hang out with these other little kids, and she loved everybody and she wanted to play with everybody.
For Brown, she wonders if the child may have been among the squatters in camp in Pinehurst the last few days. She's tried calling Montgomery County authorities, but says so far she hasn't gotten much interest.
That's a real fear. She's always here, so why wouldn't she have had the child here? Why is there no evidence anywhere else? I am concerned that the police are not putting some dots together.
ABC 13 reached out to Harris County authorities, who say they had not heard about this property where Town was seen spending time, but will now look into it.
To a developing story, a mother accused of killing her 5-year-old daughter.
Melissa Town made her first court appearance this morning. She's accused of stabbing her daughter to death on Sunday, and investigators say she did confess. KPRC2's Rilwan Belogan is live at the courthouse downtown. Rilwan, her confession was discussed in this court hearing, and so was her bond.
Yeah, Andy, Lisa, the district attorney's office didn't ask to raise Melissa Town's bond, which was set by a magistrate judge at $15 million, because they believe that is sufficient. Now, today was the first time Melissa Town appeared in courts wearing handcuffs behind her back as she approached the judge and her attorney. Her attorney said she was crying during the entire appearance. In court, the prosecutor recalled what Harris County Sheriff's Office said happened Sunday afternoon. This is when authorities say she confessed to killing her 5-year-old daughter, Nicole Bradshaw. Town's attorney says he is immediately going to try and get a mental health evaluation because he says she has been institutionalized at least 9 times. Meanwhile, the prosecutor explains that despite the apparent confession, they're still investigating. To try and get a mental health evaluation because he says she has been institutionalized at least 9 times. Meanwhile, the prosecutor explains that despite the apparent evaluation because he says she has been institutionalized at least 9 times. Meanwhile, the prosecutor explains that despite the apparent confession, they're still investigating.
We want to make sure that every statement given by a defendant is corroborated, especially when there are mental health issues involved. And so that's why we're still doing a very thorough investigation with this case. But the case will proceed as normal in terms of I need to make sure that after we get all of our evidence in, that's given to the defense so that they can prepare an adequate and just defense for their client as well, because that's the only way that the system works.
Right now, the bond issue is immaterial. Her mental illness and mental health is more relevant than bond, in my opinion.
Now, the defense attorney and prosecutors both say they will investigate all of the people who had access to the 5-year-old Nicole Bradshaw. Live from Criminal Justice Court, Rilwan Belogan, KPRC 2 News.
That's what I wanted to hear. He said that the bond and mental health is irrelevant, and I 100% agree. Here's what I don't understand, like what qualifies as mental health? Because you could take somebody like those people in Chicago, these gang members, couldn't you say that they're suffering from PTSD technically and mental health? I mean, think about it. They've seen death and murder and violence and gang stuff and drugs their entire life. And what do you think they're going to grow up and become? Model citizens? I wouldn't expect that, right? Couldn't that be qualified as the things that they're doing as mental health? They're not mentally in their right state of mind. They're not in a mentally healthy place. They're not mentally competent in the things that they're doing. No sound judgment. No, what do you call it? No remorse. They don't recognize life. No value in life. You could qualify damn near anything and everything stupid that somebody does as mental health. And at some point you would have to ask, Where do we draw the line? When does it stop? When do we stop giving people excuses? Because here's one thing that excuses don't do, as opposed to holding somebody accountable. And what is that term? What is that term? Judging someone, right? The thing that they don't want to do, they don't want to judge, and they want to excuse every damn thing. Those are two things that don't fix anything. They don't hold anybody accountable, and nobody will learn from the things that they're doing wrong. We have an established set of things that are right and wrong, according to the law. We are to follow the laws of the land. If you don't follow the laws of the land, then I think you should be punished as such. But to skirt the laws and say, well, this person thinks a little bit differently, their mentality is a little bit different, and we should give them a little bit of leniency when it comes to how we charge them, and I just don't believe that. Especially when it comes to our children. If you hurt, murder, or abuse our children, I think it's the hell with you. I think it's lock and key, life in prison, or maybe even the death penalty under law to you. Period. To the family and friends and biological father who they talked about in that article that I read, I think it was khou.com, if I'm not mistaken. They said they want us to respect their privacy and respect their grieving. But I'm just wondering, because I'm pretty sure they don't want me doing this video, but I would have to ask, who had custody of this child? Whose responsibility was it to make sure that this woman, who was on record, had been institutionalized not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, not 6 times, not 7 times, not 8 times, but a total of 9 times. A woman that on record, according to their word, had been institutionalized for this mental crap that's going on with her for nine times. And you allowed this woman to have access to this child? If you ask me, I think that's dangerous, and I think that might be considered criminal. Respect their privacy. Why y'all are collecting $12,000 in GoFundMe off the death of a child, that you put this child in danger, right? Whoever the custodial parent was, whoever gave access to this woman, to this child, or to any of those children, place those children in the thug lion cage with this thug lioness who murdered, mauled, and killed her own child. Why? Because that's what the thug lioness does at the thug zoo. She should have never been a parent, and whoever kept plugging this woman up with kids, I think that they should be checked too. I think you had signs. I think you could look that woman in the damn eyes and think, you know what? I could go get my penis wet somewhere else. She's disgusting. She should have never been born with ovaries. She should have never been allowed to reproduce. She shouldn't be allowed to be in society anymore. She should have never had any more access to this kid. This baby could have been saved if they would have just done the right thing and prevented this woman from having any more access to all these kids that they just allowed her to just create just because her womb could do so. To baby Nicole, young princess, please rest in peace. R.I.P. Life in prison for this woman, ultimate penalty under law, I don't think would be a bad judgment. $15 million bond, like I said, I don't even get the point of $15 million. They're saying, well, should we raise it higher? After you get past, what, $2 million, how about you just say no bond? That's dumb. You'll have some rappers that can make $2 million bond, some celebrities, some entertainers that can make $2 million bond, some people who own companies or businesses that can make a $2 million bond. To even the above average person, they'd never be able to afford that. I don't get the point. After $2 million, just say no bond. Maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe I'm just missing something. But again, I hope you guys will listen to baby Nicole's story. Like, share, subscribe, and share her story. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. If you feel like I'm wrong, tell me exactly based on the facts what I said that was wrong. Don't tell me your little feelings were hurt. Because guess what? This little girl's feelings were hurt when she told her mom, I've been a good girl, and her mama said, I don't care. That's the real hurt.